So today, we're going to piece together a story of love, of mystery, and a really tragic end, high above the streets of Nairobi. But, and this is what makes it so unique, this story is told through the eyes of a very unlikely investigator, someone who's just trying to make sense of it all.
It all starts with this one single haunting word. On October 10th, 2019, a local newspaper printed just this over a young man's portrait. Why? That's it. It completely captured the city's attention. But an answer? Yeah, that was nowhere to be found. So let's follow the final hours of this young man, Franklin. We're going to trace his steps, we'll meet the people he saw, and we'll look at the clues he left behind, all to try and get some kind of handle on what led to that one powerful headline.
But what's really different about this story is our guide. You see, the entire investigation is pieced together by a carpenter, a recovering addict who takes on this whole project just to keep his own mind busy. He's not a detective, not at all. He's just searching for some kind of clarity for himself and maybe for Franklin, too.
All right, so the investigation kicks off in Franklin's small room in this 7-story building in Nairobi's Pipeline Estate. And the very first person our investigator talks to, it's the building's janitor. This is a guy who knew Franklin not as some headline, but just as the quiet tenant on the 6th floor. And when the janitor lists Franklin's belongings, it paints a picture of a pretty minimalist life. You know, a weathered cot, a cracked table, some plastic plates. For the janitor, this was pretty much the sum of the guy on the 6th floor. A simple, almost sparse existence. But then, in the building storeroom, our investigator finds what the janitor totally missed. And this hidden collection, it reveals a much deeper Franklin. This was a man with a curious mind, an artistic eye, a whole private world that it seems no one else ever really saw. The janitor then starts describing the really strange events of October 9th, which was Franklin's last day. He says he noticed Franklin's door was ajar, and apparently that never happened. So when he peeked inside, he saw something deeply troubling. I mean, the strangeness of that morning is just hard to wrap your head around. The janitor, he thinks Franklin might be dead, right? So he cautiously approaches, but then Franklin suddenly jumps up, and he's not angry, he's not confused, he's beaming. He thanks the janitor, calls him brother, and even hands him money. It's an encounter that makes absolutely zero sense. Okay, so leaving the apartment behind, the investigation moves into the city itself. Later that day, Franklin, now dressed sharply in a suit, gets on a bus heading into town. And our investigator actually manages to track down the conductor, a guy named JMO, who, as it turns out, has a real knack for observing people. And this conductor, he offers up a really crucial insight. He describes Franklin as being of two minds. He saw the happy guy in the sharp suit, but he also sensed this internal conflict. Like Franklin was being pulled in completely different directions. And this is really our first hint of a deep internal struggle. The conductor also shared some stories he'd heard about Franklin's relationship, little anecdotes like this one, a playful joke with a boda, a motorcycle taxi, that turned into this whole spontaneous chase and a fun trip to the museum. It just paints this picture of a couple that was so full of life and laughter. And you know what? He wasn't the only one who saw this side of them. Shopkeepers all along Moy Avenue, where the couple used to walk all the time, they described the exact same thing. They remembered this joyful energy, how they were always nudging each other, holding hands, and just being completely freak hair. But on that final evening, something was just different. The witnesses saw the same couple, but that energy was totally gone. The vibrant, playful pair were now quiet, walking arm in arm, looking, exhausted. All that usual joy had been replaced by this quiet fatigue. So as our investigator is gathering all these stories, you start to see these two very different pictures of Franklin emerge. You've got the quiet, solitary tenant on one hand and the joyful, loving partner on the other. It's that man of two minds all over again. And this observation gets confirmed by the person who knew him best. His girlfriend flat out says she knew two Franklins. The reserved, quiet man he was most of the time, and then this other guy, the forward, maybe even a little abrasive one who first approached her. Those two sides, they were absolutely real. And their last few hours together, wow, they really show this emotional roller coaster. There's a quiet argument over a gift, but then they quickly make up. Then there's this really heartfelt moment at a pawn shop where he actually leaves his own ID behind, just so he can buy her a pendant. And then That final goodbye right before he goes back to the tower, alone.
So the investigator finally arranges to meet with Franklin's girlfriend. This is it. This is the conversation that could finally hold the key to understanding that one single word from the newspaper. Why?
And the details she shares, they're just crushing. Just hours before everything happened, up on that very same tower, they were making plans for the future. She had just told him that she was ready to introduce him to her family. His response to this was, well, it was almost poetic. He told her that their life together felt like a perfect dream, and he said his only wish was to never, ever be woken up from it. It's such a beautiful sentiment, but now it carries this unbearable weight. And then she reveals one last, completely unsolved piece of the puzzle. Apparently, an eyewitness saw Franklin up on the tower, reading a piece of paper just moments before he fell. But when the authorities investigated, that paper was gone, just vanished. So, to wrap up his search, our investigator knows there's only one thing left to do. He has to see it for himself. He goes to the S&A tower, but he's not looking for evidence anymore. He's looking for something else entirely. He's looking for understanding.
So he climbs all 201 meters to the top, and as darkness falls, Nairobi just spreads out beneath him, like this incredible sea of twinkling lights. From that high up, the city really does look like a galaxy of infinite possibilities.
But then he looks down, and in that one moment, the whole search for facts and clues, it's just over. Standing right where Franklin stood, our investigator doesn't find a logical answer. He finds a feeling. A profound, sinking, tragic sense of understanding that doesn't need any words at all. And so this is the question we're left with, isn't it? In the end, even with all the interviews and all the timelines, can you ever truly know the contents of another person's heart? Or are we all just left to piece together the clues they leave behind?